You know what's weird about Tails having the Thundershoot ability? And the Thundershoot ability in general? Tails is scared of lightning. He's scared of thunder. And yet, he has an ability where he surrounds his partners with electricity and throws them at enemies. It's also kind of weird that the partners don't get damaged, get hurt by the electricity when they get thrown at stuff, and they're pretty much guaranteed to have their faces mashed against the electricity then. I mean, the electricity can surround them harmlessly and not be in physical contact with them at first, but when they make contact with something, that's gotta electrocute them, right? My point is, it's just kind of weird that all of a sudden all the flying type characters have the ability to surround their character partners with electricity, including Tails, even though none of them have ever been applied to have electricity powers and never have again. Like, Tails, even in Sonic Battle, where all the characters get all sorts of new abilities, which mostly makes sense in terms of what's been established about their skills. Like, even in Sonic Battle, Tails' abilities are mostly based on, like, his gadgetry. He never actually uses electricity powers like a Thundershoot. But yeah, this is literally the first boss with a blimp attached to it. The weird thing is that you can actually homie attack into the spinning propeller. If this was any other Sonic game, you would have lost all your rings and fell back down. The thing is, it's a good idea to not attack it while it's over the hits. The grinding is mostly just there for transitions. With Team Sonic, the boss changes in that you have to jump over laser gates and there's more egg pawns. But other than that, it's the exact same boss. I don't even know if it has more health. It probably does. But yeah, it's the first boss, only it doesn't land, so it's harder to hit. That's about it. It's just as repetitive, mind-numbingly boring, repeatedly tapping the A button as it was before. The egg pawns, I admit it, even though I'm not a classic fan, I don't like the egg pawns. I think the designs of the Badniks are just a lot more varied. Like, they're based on animals. And even the concept of animals, like robots that look like animals, and they have animals inside them at that, that's a very unique concept that I can only think of Sonic having. And then they just scrap them for generic robots. I mean, they only look generic in 06, but the fact remains that they look stupid. Like, they look like you'd expect Eggman to make them, but they don't look nearly as colorful and varied as the Badniks. Like, with the egg pawns, they all basically look the same. They all basically function the same. Like, sometimes they have different weapons and colors to signify that they're stronger, but that's about it. Like, at least with the Badniks, they would have different looking animal Badniks depending on the location. This is a pretty nice plan, but how does Tails know just by looking at it that's not an Eggman robot? Not to mention the acting there was terrible. But seriously, how does he know just by looking at that it's not something Eggman made? It seems kind of contrived. And I really don't like the whole Metal Sonic suddenly has a shape-shifting ability now that was never ever alluded to and never shows up again. Well, I guess it shows up again in Sonic Free Riders, and that's the explanation for how he somehow was able to disguise himself as a regular robot and stay with Shadow and Rouge. Rouge, who was unusually bitchy for some reason. Didn't care when he broke down. But all he did was shapeshift to race Sonic, and since it's the Riders series, there's probably like a different continuity anyway, so it makes sense that he'd still have that ability rather than Eggman taking it away from him. But yeah, it looked like Eggman's mouth was moving when we were talking to him in the previous boss fight. So how could he possibly have been a Springtrap loaded puppet and not just Metal Sonic literally changing shape to impersonate him? Like, it's ironic. This is the first game where Eggman's mouth actually moves properly. Like, even in SA2, he just sort of had the top of his head move, and that was it. Like, this is... Like, he's actually talking, not just talking through his teeth like in SA1. But in this game, him talking through his teeth would actually make sense, because it's not really Eggman talking. But anyways, this is Frog Forest. It's got a pretty relaxing music and atmosphere. I love the way it looks. Although, like, it's in such high altitude, and like, you see trees right there on the actual level. But for the most part, the only thing really making it a forest is the background. Like, if you removed the background, like the part of the level you can see when you look at the bottomless pits, if you removed that, it's basically just a typical grassy level. Although, it is, like, this level starts out with a beach level. Like, this game doesn't start out with, like, boring grassy hills. It doesn't pull Lost Worlds and have a Green Hill Zone equivalent. It starts out with a beach, like Sonic Advance 1. So that's pretty unique.
Got it.
But yeah, I really like the atmosphere of this place. It's mostly about flying around, like, it's mostly dedicated to the flying type. The gimmick of this level is that there are frogs, giant frogs, that will create platforms for you, as well as create grind rails. The problem with the grind rail creation is that, here's my biggest problem with the zone in general. It's very easy to not find where the grind rails are, and so you're just wandering around in circles lost, and you don't know how exactly to progress. Doesn't help that a lot of the times the created grind rails are hidden behind leaves that are a natural part of the landscape. So that's good design. Like, I played this level twice with every team, and I still have vivid memories of getting lost even when I played the level again. Well, not get lost, it's kind of impossible to get lost in level design as linear as Heroes. But what I mean is that it's just hard to tell where exactly you're expected to go when the grind rails created for you not only don't look like grind rails until they don't instantly pop out at you as grind rails, which is kind of the downside, making the grind rails fit the aesthetic, but they also are hidden, which is stupid. I do like the concept of a grind rail growing as you grind down it though, and you can't go too fast on it and fall to your death, which is something you'd expect of both sets, so that's good. But yeah, there's two new gimmicks that I showed here that are shown that happen in the rest of the game. There's the flip circles that you thunder shoot, and that's how you progress. And sometimes it creates tornado pulls for you. I was really confused by that whole thunder shoot panel thing at first though, because the hint my characters gave me was you have to hit it with a ball, but it doesn't actually tell you. Oh yeah, this is my first playthrough of the game, just to accurately show off how stupid and awful these vines are. But you'll see more of that later on. But anyways, the point is, it's kind of weird because the hint for the flip thundershoot panel says that you have to hit something with a ball, but it doesn't specify what that something is, because the flip panels themselves are not on the screen while they're talking. So I thought they were talking about the lever that grows into the tornado pole. So for a really long time I would rocket excel in front of the lever that would become the tornado pole, because, well, that's hitting it with a ball, right? Like, you spin dash sort of into it, because you go into a ball. It's confusing. Why can't they just say thundershoot, the flip panel? The flip panel that's generally above you, and so you're not always going to be able to see flip panels because they're above you, and the camera doesn't really show you them all that well. But yeah, there are a couple gimmicks introduced in this level. There's a gimmick where, actually it's the same one from Casino Park. You homing attack onto spears and they launch you upwards, which again is satisfying. I like that. And I also like how you can homing attack them, so that's pretty convenient. And there's also the flowers that you tornado, and they cause you to move around. And on later difficulties, you'll be able to actually, like, move up and down to dodge stuff. For now, they're just not, there's no real point to trying to control them, which was good because the first time I tried to control them, I didn't trust the controls, so I just didn't press anything. And the game just automatically brought me to where I need to be. So it's not really a big deal. But yeah, that whole, like, people say that there's no set pieces in this game, and thus it's a generic platformer. But I'd say that the grinding on a vine that grows as you're grinding on it, and that reaches the goal, like I'd say that's a pretty memorable set piece. Maybe it's not exciting, but it's certainly memorable. And that's what every 3D Sonic game level needs. It needs a memorable set piece. This is the level where they start introducing the really annoying enemies. You saw spiked enemies there. Those enemies can only be damaged once you thunder shoot them to stun them and make them fall, and then attack them with the power type, which I didn't know until Team Chaotix. So I just team blasted all those armored guys because they never tell you how you're supposed to deal with them. Like, thunder shooting them, well, my thunder shoot was at max level there, so that's possibly the explanation for why I one-shotted that. But, like, there's these enemies that you just stun, and they never tell you how you're supposed to deal with them, so I didn't know for quite a long time how to deal with them. It's like people complain about this game being hand-holdy with the icons everywhere, but they don't always tell you exactly what you need to know with the combat and stuff. Figures that I succeed on the vine swinging part and fall down on the easy part. But yeah, the big problem with Lost Jungle is this. This is why I hate this level. Look at this. I mean, I guess maybe it's me not pressing the A button exactly right. You have to press the A button when you're at the highest part of your swing. I'm not really sure if you can actually control the swing of the vines, or if it's just you swing back and forth automatically. I think being able to control it would have been better. As it stands, it's just a timing minigame. Well, I guess being able to control it would have, like, being expected to control it by holding back and forth on the control stick would have made it more tricky to achieve the set piece at the end of the level, where the camera isn't even facing the way you want to go anyways. The point is, I died a lot to those stupid U-shaped vines because, for one thing, it's so easy for them to not even recognize that you're trying to grab onto them at all. Maybe it's because on the flying formation and they throw a temper tantrum when you're trying to fly into them, but I wanted to be the flying formation to make sure that I wouldn't die, because if I fell off them, I want to be able to fly to safety. Maybe it's easier to grab onto them with a speed type, but they should really tell you that. And again, it's just so annoying trying to... The timing for pressing the A button and getting actually launched is very precise. And every single time that it doesn't launch me, I feel like it's not my fault. And another thing is that it stiffly drops you directly downwards if you mess up the timing. That doesn't feel right. You should not just stiffly drop down from a vine if you press the A button at the wrong time. You should at the very least go forwards a little bit. Like, not just drop down. And this level has these U-shaped vines be absolutely mandatory to use in order to progress. So you have to deal with them. And I can't even count the amount of times that I died when I first reached those vines. But yeah, I also don't like the music of this particular level. Again, it's not even music, it's just like rapid drumming, and I get they're trying to go for a jungle theme, but it's like Tropical Jungle in 06. It suits the setting, but it's not catchy. It doesn't really suit a Sonic game. And like I said, introducing the really annoying enemies, and that giant robot was a perfect example. Even in Team Rose, you see that giant enemy. It's the first level for Team Rose where it appears, and you pretty much have no choice but to Team Blast it. Maybe you can attack it with the power type, but I never really bothered. I have a really bad experience with these enemies actually. The only time I tried to fight them legitimately without using Team Blast, it hit me with its hammer while I was swinging around, and then while I was trapped in the stun animation, before I had even hit the ground to grab onto my rings again, it hit me again while I was trapped in the stun animation and killed me. You don't do that. That's like the HD Werehog where you get hit by the shockwave, and then while you're trapped by the shockwave stun animation, you get hit by it again. That's not right. I also like being able to jump into these orange things and being able to be launched as well. Like, they're basically springs, but they don't make the same sound as them, and they probably launch you at a different height as well. So it works. They feel unique enough to be satisfying. But yeah, Lost Jungle introduces frogs that have acid rain that actually destroy platforms. Not that it matters, it's not like they actually take advantage of it by you have to rush over to platforms and fly up them quick enough before they get destroyed. And if you are quick enough, it actually rewards you by getting you to higher alternate routes. But if you're too slow, the platforms get destroyed by the evil frogs. No, it's not like that. Instead, the black frogs just destroy platforms that wouldn't have actually helped you anyways, even if you could climb up them. And even then, platforms are designed like you jump on one platform, then you jump on the higher one, and then so on and so forth. So even if you could jump onto a platform before it got destroyed, you'd have to jump onto the next higher platform, and it would get destroyed before you could do it. But yeah, this is the big dynamic set piece of the level. It starts off with you blindly stumbling into the camera, so you don't know that you're heading towards water and fall into your death. And then I fell down there in the perfect establishing character moment of just how bad this is going to be. Now, ironically, most of the time when I try this out, I actually do it perfectly fine. Just listen to the audio cues while you're swinging off the vines, and it'll make it a lot easier to tell when exactly you should press the A button. That way you'll be able to get into a good timing of when to keep pressing A. Like A, like that. It's very tense. And ultimately, I think it's too tense. And because of that, I don't enjoy it at all. I just feel like it's too easy to die in them. Like, when the game does have tense and exciting moments, like with the gun truck in SA2, they're too tense because they're too easy to die in, like the Boulder and Ocean Palace. Like the thing is that the exciting set pieces of this game have challenge. They're not like you running away from the whale in Emerald Coast, where it's literally just you automatically run forward towards the camera and hit dash pads, and it's excitement that's kind of artificial because you're in no actual danger unless you're Amy and you're too slow. But even then, you can't actually get in there as Amy without a glitch anyways. But in this game, I don't think the set pieces are scripted enough. Like, the big problem with the boulder is it wasn't scripted enough. So you could run the wrong directions or be too slow with the flake formation and you get hit by the boulder and die. This is really stupid. This is your reaction to seeing Shadows alive? Why didn't he go, Shadow, you're alive? He was so devastated that he died at the end of SA2, and why isn't he actually having a proper reaction?
So, well then, it'll be a date to die for. Hey, that's my line.
Since when does Sonic say something that dark? Seriously, why was he acting as if he was going to say that line when there's no way that he would have said that? Like, it's not like he was, like, Shadow was threatening to kill them, essentially. Sonic wouldn't have said that. Like, there's just so many things wrong about that cutscene. Like, it also ties into a big plot hole. Like, why doesn't Shadow even so much as ask about his past? And another thing is that he sees Sonic and goes, hey, it's that hedgehog. And that implies that he doesn't have amnesia, even though he does. Because apparently he fell and he hit his head on the way to Earth. I guess that's the explanation. Like, they don't even bother to explain how exactly he got amnesia. I'm assuming he hit his head, and his brain took that as a perfect excuse to dump his traumatic past memories. But the point is, Rouge doesn't even question why he says, hey, it's that hedgehog, as if he knows who Sonic is. And it's not even a real plot hole in the sense that it could be that Rouge not telling Shadow about his past is just because she doesn't want to risk him trying to destroy the world again. But then just explain it. Just have Rouge confide in Omega that that's the reason she's not telling him anything. You don't need to have Shadow... Well, Shadow has no way of knowing that he already knew Rouge unless she would know about his past. So I guess that's the explanation, but still. They had no reason to fight. None of these characters have any legitimate reason to be fighting each other. It's like they're just bringing it back because it was in the adventure games. It's just like how they tried to have a time limit with Eggman taking over the world in 3 days. Just like how they had a time limit in SA2 with the Eclipse Cannon. But they screwed up and it just feels like it was sloppy and added in at the last moment. Like, I love this game, but it's not perfect. Like, I acknowledge that.